Hello everyone, welcome back to UiPath tutorials. Now, in today's video, I am going to tell you some of the questions on coding best practices. The coding best practices is really very important when we create any process. It's a big process or small or a medium process. We have to follow the standards, the coding standards basically. Now, let's move to the question basically. What type of questions can be asked in UiARD exam on the coding best practices topic? One question one is basically what is the safest way to close an application? Option is by using the process name property of kill process activities. Now if you're just, let's assume there is a Chrome and you want to close it, the first option is use a kill activity and provide a process name inside it. The way we do it, use the kill activity and just write down the basically you can write down like I explore to close the Internet Explorer. This is the one way to do it. Another is using Alt F4 hotkeys. If you don't want to use this, you can use Alt F4 basically. You can use the send hotkeys, and here you can use Alt and then you can choose from the below is F4. This is another way to do it. Now, the third is by using the close application activities. Another way is close application. Now basically you have to inspect the element you want to close. So if you want to close Internet Explorer or whichever application it is, then you have to inspect it basically. Now the question is asking which is the safest way and the best way. The safest way is basically a close application activity where the UiPath always recommend to use a close application activity first. If this close application activity is failed, then in the cache flow you can use the kill process activity. This is the second option to use it. Now this is the first priority and this is the second priority, I would say. Now if you had worked with the RE framework, then you have said like when in the end state they are using a close application basically, and they have put that close application to the try catch. In the try they have put the close application and in the catch they have put the kill activity. Now this is the priority that they are giving. First the bot should close the application, and if something went wrong to this, then it should go to the catch and kill the process basically. So the answer is by using the close application activity is the safest way to close an application. Now let's move to the second. Which of the following are considered the best practices? Select all the option that applies. First is reusing workflows across different projects. This is correct because if you are working with a bigger engagement where there are a number of developers like 20 plus developers working to create 100 plus bots, that means the each developer should take care of the reuse workflows. How is it like you are if your 20 developer is creating a process on SAP, they have a different processes, but again they have to go through the same step where they have to log in into the SAP application. They have some T codes basically, they have to enter the T code windows. Sometimes they have to extract some data from a certain window. Now those things can be created as a reusable workflows. Now if I have started working on the process and I'm logging into the SAP, that means the another person who is creating the process, he should not do the same steps. Now I can provide a same workflow to them to reuse it. That will save a lot of time. So this is the correct thing, like reusing a workflow across a different project. Another is breaking the process into smaller workflows. Now again, if you're working on a complex process or a medium process, medium complexity process, and definitely it have different business rules and different applications, different business exceptions, system exceptions. Now, and also different windows. Now, when you design a process, then we have to always keep in mind to create a separate workflows. Now, let's assume you are automating SAP, and then you are logging into the SAP, you are choosing a connection, you are entering a T codes, and then you are extracting something from it. That means you have to create a separate smaller workflows. You are breaking the process into smaller workflows, like logging into the SAP, entering the T code, or extracting the data from the SAP applications. You can just create a smaller workflows and then you can integrate into the one. Now these workflow can also be used as a reuse workflows that I told you for the option A. So this also comes to the best practices. Now let's move to the C. We are keeping environment setting hard coded inside the workflow. We never do this. We never do coded inside the workflows. We should avoid the hard coding basically. Option A and B is the correct answer here. Let's move to the question 3. Now, which of the following are required to have efficient execution of automation projects? First is effective logging mechanism. Effective logging mechanism, definitely this is required. Why? Let's assume uh, you have developed some process and now it is running in the production. Now, if you have not done a proper logging, that means if something went wrong and the support person is looking into it, then he will not able to find it, like at which place the exception is occurred. Now he have to debug more, you have to waste more time in it. If you have done a effective logging, that means it's easy for him to identify where the bug is occurred. Now effective logging mechanism, we can consider this. B is proper exception handling. This is very important. Now if you have not done a proper exception handling, if unknown exception occur, then your bot will going to be faulted and you will not going to know what happened. Then you have to check the logs, you have to check the error message of the jobs, basically what happened to it. Now when proper exception handling is there and you have also implemented a email functionality where if exception occurred the bot should send an email, then definitely it will recover from this exception and send an emails. But if you have not used any exception, if you are not doing any exception handling, that means if something went wrong, if some error occurred in your workflows, now that error will not going to be handled and your bot will not going to send any exception to you. Now the only way to check it is from the orchestrator. If the bot is faulted, then you have to check the logs, you have to check the log messages. So this is required, proper exception handling. Recover abilities. Let me give you example of this also. Now I have developed a bot where it is logging into the application and it is reading the Excel. It have a, let's assume it have a 10 transaction. It is picking each transaction one by one and putting into the application. Now if the bot is processing each line item one by one from the Excel, let's assume on the second exception, uh, not exception occurred exactly, but your application is hanged, basically it is in the not responding state. What will happen in that case? So we have to create a workflow in such a way that it should have a recovery abilities. That means if your browser is crashed or it is in the not responding state, that means the bot should kill the application or close the application, and it should log in again and it should start picking the item where it left, where on which the exception occurred. So that comes to the recovery abilities. Your workflow should have a recovery abilities also. Now let's move to the uh, question number 4. Why is renaming activities considered to be one of the best practices? First is to be able to understand the process logic without expanding each sequence or invoked workflow. Now if we have done a proper renaming of the activities, that means we don't need to expand anything. Now let's assume if you have done a proper renaming to it, right now you don't know what is happening inside this sequence, right? If I have done a proper renaming to it, like closing application in it right now you can easily know, okay, basically in this sequence we are closing an application. You don't need to expand it, right? Another way is to easily understand the high level business logic from a similar way. Now if something you have created a business log, a critical business logic you have created with the help of flowchart or sequence, whatever it is, let me take it flowchart. And inside this, if you have done it in that way, like sequence is there, then you can use a decision here. Then again you can use a sequence here, and you can use a sequence again here. Now you should design, let's assume this is a complex logic. It's not a complex logic, but let's assume it. Now if you are just initializing something here, it is checking some values here, that's a has data in it. If it has data, it should go here and perform some tasks, like it is entering data in application. And here you can see it, you can write it as a no data found. Right now it's simple, but when it is a complex, there are a number of decisions and there is a complex business logic. The basically developers should be able to understand from here itself. It should not go to the each sequence. It should open and just checking it, okay, what's happening inside this sequence. Now it should be neat and clean, right? And this is what it's saying, like it should be have a high level business logics from the workflow. This is high level, it is initializing it, right? It is initializing, or it is initializing the variables. Now it is just checking whether it has some data or not. If it have a data, that it is entering a data into an application. If it is not having a data, then it is going, and it is saying that no data found. We can consider this. In case of an exception, to be able to find its source, this is important. We have to always try to basically give the activities names. Means we have to rename it, basically. That's what I'm saying. Like if this is assign, then I'm assigning something to, let's assume I'm assigning name to it. Just write down this way, assign name, UiPath tutorials. Now if something occurs to this application, then we can know the source of it if you have done the proper renaming to it. Why? If let's assume you have used assign here also, here also, 3 to 4 assigns. Now something is goes wrong to any of the assign activity, you will not going to know, because you see the name is similar, assign. So we have to do the proper renaming to it. This is just an example of assign. It can happen to any of the activities. It can be a multiple clicks, multiple type intos. So the all three is required basically. So, so this is the answer, ABC. Now let's move to the next. How can you provide more details to explain the purpose of activities in the workflow? Now by using a comment out activity, by using a comment activities, and by adding an activity to annotations. Now by using the comment activities, you know the comment activities, you can drag here, and here you can give your comment, basically what exactly this sequence is. This is the one way to do it. Another way is to use the annotations from here. This is used to enter data in app. Now these two are the best ways, not the comment out. If you do the comment out for it, which is disable activities, you see comment out will not going to give an lot information here. If you see, now these two are the best way to do it, by using the comment activity and by adding a activity annotations. Next, what are the function of the outline panel? It shows it shows the execution result of the workflow. It shows the structure of the workflows. If the activities are properly named, it can be used to search and select a specific activity inside the workflow. Outline panel. Okay, so basically it shows the structure of the workflows. What is the structure of the workflow? Or if the activities are properly named, it can also use to search and select the specific activities. Now let's assume this is our workflow. Let me make it true for now. Now if you click on the outline, this is the outline. Now this is showing the structure that it have a start node, it have init, it has data, it have a condition, has data, has a true condition here, you see. Now when it is a true condition, is going to the entering a data in application, but if you see the false, it have a no data. It is showing that the bodies also have the comment. You see it has a comment part. Let's remove for now. So this is something it is giving. So it is showing the structure basically. Now if the activity are properly named, it can be used to search. Properly named, that means if you have a multiple assign, but those assign have some names. Let me see. Now you see it have assign, and this assign is used for name and this is used for age. Let me put for now the empty value to it. If you go to the outline, you will see it here. You see there are two assign activity. Now it is, when I'm clicking on it, it is going to the respective activity, but the thing is you should rename it. Why? I'll tell you. Name and age. Now let me go to the main and click on the outline. If you see here, I can directly know from here, okay, this assign activity is basically for the name and this is for age. If you want to go to the respective activity, you have to click on it. Just single click is enough. Now you can see that both two options are correct. Now question 7 is, when should the add log field activity be used? When the standard log message has to be customized by adding a new field to it. That right. If I want to add some standard log messages, then to be customized by adding a new field to it, I want to add a new field to it. That case I have to use add log fields activity. When logs needed to be enabled, that's wrong. We don't require the enable and disabling of logs because of it. When the log message with the maximum number of 5 visible fields to be generated, no, there is not any criteria. It should have minimum or maximum 5 numbers. So answer is where the standard log message has to be customized by adding a new field. I hope you are already aware of this add log field activities, which will have basically used to create some fields, log fields, and that can directly be shown into the logs basically. And here you can provide a logs whatever you want to give logs, and the same logs will be reflected with the values inside the inside the log file basically. So this is all about the some of the questions on the coding best practices. Thanks for watching my video. Have a great day.